So today on the podcast, we have Dr. Catherine Corona. Welcome, Dr. Catherine. First of all, just wanted to thank you for your amazing work and all that you've contributed to the collective over the years of study and service. We applaud your dedication and admire your multifaceted contributions in science, art, literature, and even a #1 album. Also, thank you so much for the gift of your Soul and Spirit Daily Spiritual Practice Program. This is well received, and we are looking forward to diving into this daily practice with you. I actually did day #1 today.
Oh, you did? Oh,
yes. So thank you. It was great.
Fantastic. Did you like it?
I did like it. I enjoyed it very much.
So for the viewers, do you want to tell them what it is so they know what you dove into?
For me, I just woke up first thing in the morning and I just heard your beautiful voice and the music. And I actually looked out the window and I could see the moon in the sky. And I just sat there and just listened and just kind of dozed off and trailed off. So I woke up energized and I woke up feeling good. So thank you very much for that experience. Yes.
Beautiful.
So how are you today?
I'm great. Yeah, I'm doing great.
You're great.
Mm-hmm.
So you have a doctorate in spiritual science. So can you explain to us what spiritual science is and what led you towards that path?
So it's a practice of looking at what spiritual practices, what methods an individual might use to connect them to their soul, to oneness, to God, to whatever word you want to use, divinity, what is eternal, the great mystery, the great spirit, whatever words you want to use for that. What methods connect you as an individual to that? And everybody's different.
Mm-hmm.
And are you even interested in doing that? And
oh, for sure.
You know, the hypothesis as a spiritual scientist, you use a scientific method. And to simplify that, it's just starting out with a hypothesis and then proposing methods, checking out what benefits there are, and then using that. The way I used it was to deepen and go really deep into my spiritual practices.
So which spiritual practices do you use the most other than meditation? We're going to get into some meditation stuff because we know that you've been doing that for a long time. Is there anything else that you use to connect?
I do. And I would just pose the question as we're talking about this to the viewers of what you all have that you do that connects you to something that you feel that kind of feels bigger than yourself.
So kind of opening up your channel.
Opening up your channel would be one great way to put it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then once the channel is open, what's the experience after that? What's the experience? And can you bask in that? Can you listen to the sounds of that, feel the vibration of that, feel the rhythm, see the colors, experience the field of energy of that?
Yeah, so you've sang, so you've obviously felt it through singing.
Well, I'm a bit auditory. Some people are auditory, some people are visual, some people are kinesthetic, so they feel things. Mm-hmm. And we're all going to have our main mode of experiencing the world through one of the senses and then the secondary senses. So I do hear what we call the celestial melodies throughout. This is ancient. In Hebrew, it's called the voice of the heart. That one of the Greek philosophers called it the celestial melodies. There's an inner sound, a deep inner sound, which is basically a vibrational frequency that you might hear if you're auditory. You might see its colors if you're more visual. You might have a combination of these. You might feel its rhythm or sort of the winds of the current of vibrational frequency. This is like the matrix of creation.
Mm-hmm. So you're clairaudient?
I've never used that word before. I've never even thought of that word before.
No?
I hope no. I'll have to think about that. I would strive to be have the clearest way of hearing, and through what I would call the spiritual ears. So we all have spiritual sight, we all have spiritual hearing or spiritual ears, and it's really beyond the physical level. And
yeah, for sure.
right?
Yeah.
To kind of tune that up or tune it in.
Yeah, like how do you like really get in that channel?
Practice,
Yes.
practice.
But what are the practices?
Right. So if you want to practice opening up your spiritual ears, your spiritual hearing, what I do is I start with a stillness practice. I listen to my heartbeat.
Oh, nice.
Just listen to your heartbeat. And if you don't hear it at first, you can feel it, can come up
Yeah, and
your artery and feel it, or here on your wrist and feel it. Sometimes you can feel it in your temples, the blood moving in a rhythm. And you start to just open up, just start listening, listening. And then bring your energy up to your third eye chakra, this chakra, and then the crown chakra. These are the energy centers.
yeah.
And those are the open channels. They're called the open doors, this third eye at the top of the head. Bring the energy from your heart, from your heartbeat that you're listening to, feeling, hearing, bringing it up to the third eye. And then you just, from there, you hear, look, feel for that inner celestial melody. And it's like jumping in a river because it has an energetic flow.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you jump in that river and let it carry you up into the more refined spiritual realms, up above the soul realm, right? So we all have these levels of consciousness: our physical body, our astral body, that's more imaginational, our emotional body, our etheric body, which is unconscious, subconscious. Actually, before that is the mental body. These all corresponds to the chakras or the energy.
5 bodies.
Yes. And
Yes.
then the soul body.
Yeah.
The soul body is our vehicle that we travel into the higher realms of spirit. And there are no reference points there, right? Because it's not of this earth. But
No, it's space. Just space.
that might be one experience. I think that void that you're talking about is right before you go into the higher realms, where it's just space and a void.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's what they call the cosmic mirror. When you travel the realms of consciousness, you might come to the space, what's called the void in metaphysical terms. And there's like a giant mirror there, in a way, where you're reflected yourself. Yourself is reflected in all parts of you.
Mm-hmm.
This is why they say it takes great courage to see the face of God, because first you have to see your own face.
Yeah, which is sometimes a difficult process. I've been doing a lot of meditation too, and the reason why I said it was just space is because I actually not too long ago like astral projected, and I was like dreaming of flying, and all of a sudden I was like, whoop, out of my body, and I took one big breath, and I was like, okay, back in the body, please, back in the body, please, and then went back into the body and came back down.
So what
that's
was it that you didn't? Why did you want to come back in the body?
probably because it was the first time I was actually present doing it. Like I can lucid dream and stuff as well, but this was the first time like I was like flying and then I like flew like right out of my body. And like I was always like, yeah, like let's go, let's do it, let's just have to do it. But then when it actually happened, I was like, whoa, okay,
Slow down.
Like, slow this down a little bit. You know what I mean?
Down. So that this happens.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this happens with people's first experiences out of the body and into your first body that you travel in is what's called your astral body.
Yeah.
We want to go higher than that. Okay.
Yeah.
That's still in the psychic material world, but that's an incredible start. And a lot of people do go, whoa, this is a crazy experience. And sometimes you can look back and see your body sitting there or laying there in meditation. It's like, whoa, I see where am I?
Yeah.
So there's nothing to be afraid of. This is what we're meant for. This is the greatest adventure, because this is the inner adventure. Just like if you go to a country you've never been to, you get in a vehicle, plane, train, automobile, and you get in these vehicles and you go to this place you've never gone. And you get more comfortable the longer you're there. And
Yeah.
the first trip, especially if they speak another language, you're like, well, where am I? You know, the smells are different. The sights are different. Same thing with traveling in the inner worlds.
Mhm.
But and here's a little tip. When you go, whoa, I'm out of my body, brings you right back in your body.
Yeah, so like I didn't necessarily feel fear. And like when I woke up, I just was like woke up like nonchalantly, and then like it took a few minutes and I was like, yeah, that actually just happened.
Good for you.
It was like it was just kind of like a little preview, I think. I just kind of innately was like, okay, back in the body, please, back in the body, please. So it just kind of happened that way. But I would love to go further and deeper into that. That's why I was asking, like, how do you fine tune these kinds of things?
Practice,
Yeah.
practice, practice. So it will fine tune of its own accord.
Yeah.
And you just by practicing, and don't be disappointed if the next time you go or the next time or the next time you don't have that same experience. The experience will be different every time. And
Hmm.
they're practicing meditation, or this kind of inner traveling, what I would call soul transcendence meditation is what the name I have for it that you did. um, there's times where it's just real easy and you have the facility, and there's times when we're all kind of in the desert. But what that means is that you're kind of processing the experience.
Yeah.
You may not get the experience every time, but don't just keep going. Keep going into stillness, keep going into meditation as you do it. It's a sacred practice. It's very sacred and very special, and only not very many people do it. For I don't know why. I think it's the great adventure, but maybe they haven't been introduced to it, or maybe it's scary for them, or maybe they get frustrated, or maybe they can't sit still. This is what people tell me. Or maybe their mind just wanders. Um, how so my also tip for you is to invite, and you may have heard that in the program, the very first thing I do is invite the highest consciousness that you can reach to come and be present with you, and you in that oneness. Because those
Yeah.
places of higher consciousness, that's how you refine it. And that is the guide. So in the astral realm, sometimes it's called, it can be beautiful, the Summerland. And it's worlds without end, right? So you can sometimes get lost. I've gotten lost in there.
How'd you
And
find your way back home?
I called on it's a great question and a smart question. I called on the highest consciousness I could call on.
Hmm.
And I was like, whoa, I'm lost. This is infinite. This goes on forever. I don't know where I am. I need my highest guide to come right now. And that guide can be your own soul. I would
Yeah.
recommend that. It could be a great master that you have an affinity towards, Buddha, Jesus, Muhammad, Rumi. It could be any great master that you have an affinity towards. These
Yeah.
are the avatars, right? They have done
Yeah.
this before us.
Yeah.
These are master spiritual beings that have been there before, as they say in Star Trek. But
Hmm.
they have been there before, so they can guide you and come present with you, or they can represent your highest level of consciousness. And then they will guide you, and then they will teach you also inwardly the nuances of this inner traveling, the soul traveling.
That's awesome. So where's the science woven into this? This sounds like all spirituality.
Which is nothing different than science.
Really?
Science is our approach, our process.
Our definition of?
No, I wouldn't define it that way, because also once you start traveling in the higher realms, you don't have reference points in the soul realms. We're physical beings with physical minds and hearts. This is where we're referenced. Until you start traversing the spiritual realms and what I did was I wrote down my experiences,
Hmm.
signs, sights, colors, sounds, so that I could start to develop reference points on those inner levels. The science, the spiritual science, is what works for you. So if you wanted to have another inner journey, what worked for you? That would be the science part. How did I do it? How long was I there? What did I see, feel? Can I do it again? Were there benefits? What were the methods? This is the way you process your spiritual experiences so that they're repeatable. So that's the spiritual scientist, right? So, if scientists are testing a new drug, they're going to have a study group. They're going to have a control group that doesn't get the drug. They're going to have a study group. They're going to see the benefits. They're going to watch for them, and they're going to decide. Then they're going to peer review it. They're going to decide, was that drug, is that a viable drug for certain diseases, right? That's the scientific method.
Okay, gotcha.
You can apply that method to your spiritual life, and it's just a shortcut. It's a shortcut to see what sacred spiritual practices work for me. So for some people, meditation may not work for them. They can't, for whatever reason. But walking in the woods, sitting on a rock, and being really quiet and listening, that brings them to sacred experience of oneness with all of the universes. That's beautiful.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's sacred to them. And
so, sorry, go ahead.
And then they probably want to practice that as much as possible if they found that worked, or walking with your dog, or listening to a chant and then turning it off and just getting in that vibe, getting in that place, and then turning it off and just listening. A lot of this has to do with stillness and listening.
So it's funny you bring that up, because one of my questions is, the practice of meditation takes on so many forms, such as observation of oneself, all that surrounds us, mantra, prayer, sound, word, guided meditations, movement meditations, love and blessing meditations, manifestation meditations. Do you exercise multiple forms of meditation, and which ones do you resonate with the most?
So I have done, my very first meditation course was in Buddhism, because where I live, there's a very large population of Tibetan Buddhists.
Yeah.
I studied with a Hindu teacher and learned mantra meditation. I studied with, I was just around some Sufis to learn their meditation. And
Sufi, where is that from?
Sufi is a mystic sect of Islam.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. The whirling dervishes. A lot of people have seen the whirling dervishes.
I have. Yeah, they spin around, and yes.
They go into a trance.
That's a meditation.
That's a meditation. And that's they are Sufis. So I've done all of them. And what I found for me, that soul transcendent meditation, basically getting out of your body into your soul as a vehicle and traveling through the inner worlds, the spiritual realms, back into the highest consciousness. I can call it God, call it divine presence, call it whatever. The word doesn't matter.
Yeah, exactly.
But
you can't define it, right? You can't define it. It's undefinable.
It's ineffable, undefinable.
Yeah.
Yes. But you can experience it. You can absolutely experience it, and then bring it down into your everyday life and walk with that presence inside of you. Every second of every day, I don't know anybody that does that. That would be a completely liberated master.
Yeah.
I have known a couple. I studied with a man named John Roger. He's the one I sort of settled on studying, because when I met him, I knew I was home. And he taught.
You could feel it.
I could feel it. Yeah. It was just like,
the presence, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
It's like, okay, this is home. And he taught that we all have our own inner master. And he taught the meditations of the sound current and of soul transcendence. So going into your soul body, transcending the physical world into the spiritual world and back into the heart of God,
Back into the oneness.
back into the oneness,
Yes.
the truth, the reality with a capital R, and then living from that every day, bringing it into your everyday life as much as you can. I mean, we all stumble, right? We all have our challenges and our illnesses and our crazy lives, that challenges us. But all those challenges, in my experience of doing this now for over 50 years, they all bring me back to the same place. But every time I'm challenged with an illness or disease, an accident, whatever it is that is disturbing or triggers me or makes me mad, or that's all to transcend that and to go right back into that heart of divine presence. I love this story. I saw the Dalai Lama. He came to my town once, and I went and saw him, and they asked him, do you ever get angry, Dalai Lama? Do you ever get angry? And he told this story, and he said when he got out of China, out of Tibet, he escaped, and he was 15. He said he was very angry, very, very, very angry. I mean, the Chinese came in and took his country and killed over 100,000 monks. He said he was very angry, but the Buddhist practice taught him. And he told this story. One of the monks was imprisoned during the Chinese takeover. I think that was in 1947. I could have that wrong. Imprisoned for couple decades, and in horrible condition. There were rats, and it was dirty, and they didn't have enough food. And when he got out, the Dalai Lama, they got together. Dalai Lama is a refugee in Dharamsala, India. And he said, the conditions you were in, weren't you in terrible danger? And the monk said, yes, I was in terrible danger. And he goes, of dying and the torture. He goes, no, of getting angry.
Yeah.
That's been a sort of where I strive to that. It's like, could I be so transcendent of so much in my heart, so much in my soul, that whatever happens here in our society, in our world, it's not that I don't work to serve, contribute, and make it better, but can I, right above it, feel with compassion and empathy what it is here and what people go through and what I go through, and have that beautiful loving in the heart to deal with all that. And also,
I resonate with that too.
Yeah,
because like anger for me is like, it's like putting blinders on, right? And so like hate, I think, is like the most dissonance that you can have from your true heart, right? So if you embody that, like if you match that or mirror that, like the whole goal is like to take the most heinous person in the world and actually show them love and greet them with compassion and understanding for how they got there, for what state of being that they're existing in at that point in time, because they're in such a closed off state. They're so far away from themselves that they don't, like, they're doing things that they would never do if they were actually resonating with their heart center.
And I love the way you're putting that, resonating with your heart center, because that's the harmony, like tuning fork that we have with that loving, beautiful energy from the heart center. So meditation, spiritual practices, however you do them for yourself, this is what strengthens that heart center and soul center, is to practice these. Because when you go in to the highest place, it's all love. It's just all love.
Yeah, the only fear is the fear that we have, like the fear of this, like that we bring. Is like
you won't bring it there.
Well, I mean, like, I didn't feel the fear, but when I was like, okay, where's the body? Or like back, I didn't say that. I said, back to the body, please. Back to the body, please. It's just, I don't know if it was just a little preview or if it was just like, there's more to, there's obviously more to come, but it just kind of innately just happened. I just realized like where I was, and I was like, oh, not quite ready yet. So I was going to ask you, are you always intentional with your meditations, or do you sometimes leave space for universal surprises?
I always leave space for universal surprises.
Me too. I think sometimes I need to be more intentional. But
you can do
go ahead.
both. You can
Yeah.
absolutely do both. So I usually set an intention. I think that's a great idea. I'm glad you brought it up. I always set an intention for my spiritual practice time, my meditation time. So the intention might be oneness, being in the flow of the heart, in the loving, going to the edge of creation where formlessness comes into form, and let me just see what that is and
Oh, I
experience.
like these intentions.
Yeah. And yeah, I like to write them down. I like to sit with a journal when I do my meditation practice or my spiritual exercise practice. Sit with a journal, set the intention, and then be at the same time be open for universal magical surprises. I mean, that's the point, is in some ways it's just to see what's out there in there and bask in the beauty of the energy, but also become awakened.
Yeah.
Awakened.
Receive information that you're not aware of yet.
Information connotes the mental level.
Okay, vibration.
I think that, well, sometimes there's a place for getting information, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I'm not sure of something, I feel unsure of something. Let's say, I'll have a big question here. What do I want to do next in my life? That's a big question.
Mm-hmm.
And then I want that information. So maybe I'll set the intention from a higher level, right? If I'm going to take a new step in my life, I want that step to be in alignment and resonate with the highest purpose for me, with my destiny, with also what is goodness, what is loving. Mm-hmm. So that may be an intention and that may be an intention for 2 months, because that's a big question. And then when I come out of the meditative space, that energy, or wherever inwardly I've been traveling, I want to write down the information that I receive. So I always go, I would like the information for this in a way that I can understand it.
That's a big one. That's the caveat right there. Yeah.
That's what you learn after doing this for many years. You come down and it's like, wow, that was incredible. I have no idea what that meant.
Exactly, right? Is there a particular meditation that sticks out to you, like something that rendered a revelation or some unique insight, something that sticks out where you're like, that was an amazing time?
Oh, an experience?
An experience.
Oh gosh, there's so many. I mean,
what's the first one that comes to mind?
Yeah, I think, well, actually, it was not a meditation like you think of where you sit and be quiet. I was actually in the desert in Joshua Tree in California, and I was running up a hill. So I was doing my running practice. But at the same time I was doing my running practice, I was chanting a mantra, the Hu mantra, H-U. Hu is similar to Om for those of you that do yoga practices but it's a different vibration than Om. To me, it's the vibration of everything that's created. So I was running and I was inwardly chanting at the same time. And I got up to the top of the hill and I like ran into myself.
Okay.
My true self.
Okay.
My soul, in a way
so that your soul was waiting for you at the top of the hill.
Yeah. Yep. Yes.
That's beautiful.
Eyes wide open. Oh, it's me.
That's beautiful.
And I got to see the trueness of myself, the trueness of my soul, and try to embody it. Living up to it is another story, but I had the experience of this is who you are.
That's amazing.
I was young. I was in my 20s. And before that, I had done a meditation practice with many different traditions, spiritual traditions, but I was still being led by parental ideas for what I should be.
Yeah.
societal conditionings. This is what you do in life. You go to school, you get married, you get a job, you have kids, the conditioning of the traditional life. I was still had that was all wrapped around me.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't me. It was
Programmed
outside.
into you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've just in the last 3 years just gone through the deprogramming. So I'm 42 now. So like in the last 3 years I've traveled. I'm traveling again here pretty quick, and done a lot of like isolation, and just like I've been doing a lot of these practices just innately as they come. Like they'll just kind of appear when it's my time for them. So I'm kind of just following the path that I'm being guided down, and it's actually been quite the journey. Quite the journey.
I bet it has. Good for you.
Yeah.
Congratulations and bravo for it. We usually, sometimes spirit comes and wraps around us and takes us. And sometimes, and this, all of this happens, sometimes we just really make a commitment and say, I'm going to go deep into my practice.
Oh, for sure. I mean, there's no other choice for me. I actually called this in innately. Like there was somebody there that was talking to the star people in an ayahuasca ceremony. And I was like, oh yeah, like I remember them from 10 years ago. I'm like, so I'm gonna call them the star people. And they actually showed up. Scared the crap out of me. I was like, what's going on here? I could hear them, I could see them. And then it took some time before it came back. It took about like 2 years. It took like to where I was in a place where I was alone.
Mm-hmm.
And then it came to me in the bath. I could sense it in the room. I'm like, okay, if you're a benevolent being, go ahead, come in. And I feel like the hands of God coming through my chest. And I'm like, is this really happening? And ever since then, it's been quite the ride.
So you hit on something that's really important that I would love everybody to pay attention to. You said, if you're a benevolent being,
Mm-hmm.
then
You're welcome.
Then you're welcome. That's a really important key. And I can't emphasize it enough, because there's a lot of beings out there, and they're not, just like there's a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
And not all people are benevolent. If you go,
yeah,
everyone, and then there's some people that, are not being very nice. You don't want that. Well, it's the same thing with the invisible beings.
Yeah.
Or energy forms, or flows of energy, or vibes.
Mm-hmm.
So you really had a really important key there to pay attention to, that you welcome only what is benevolent, or of the good, of a goodness, or of God, however you want to put it, or the divine presence. I always like that one. I know a lot of people won't like this. I'm going to tell you anyway. I do not like the external substance to get me to the internal state.
Okay.
Because then you have to rely on an external substance.
No, like for a certain amount of time. And then when your time is done, it becomes pretty clear. Like for me, in the last like couple of years, it's been no more. So I just haven't been called to it, right? But it got me through like the deconditioning, like the forgiveness, and then realizing that there's more to forgiveness. It's like using empathy and compassion for the other person, like getting rid of blame. Just like there were so many like traumas that had happened or that I viewed as trauma that needed to be released before I could get to this state in order to be okay in this state, I believe.
I think that is also a lot is right on. So I've been reading Hazrat Inayat Khan. He's a Sufi. And also my teacher, John Roger, talked about shedding the baggage.
Yeah.
And getting as cleared up as you. Now, we all have to have some karma. Karma keeps us tethered to the earth. If you don't have some karma, you're not going to stay here. And we mostly need to stay here to learn what we came here to learn.
Yeah.
Or serve the way we came here to serve, or both. The external substances, though, and they can be helpful and they can kind of open a door, but you'll only go so high with them. They usually they only go so high. They'll get you out of your body. They won't usually get you into the soul realms. They're not meant for that. But they will get you out of your body.
Yeah, well, they're an earthly gift, right? An earthly medicine, and medicines can also be overused, just like any other substance, right? So you can so it's about doing it when you feel called to. There's been specific ayahuasca ceremonies where I'm like, I didn't really need to be here for this.
Mm.
I didn't really, get exactly what I came for, or like my intention didn't come through, or I just kind of felt like I was just sitting there. And there's other ones where I was like, I needed to be here for this. I released so much, or I learned so much, or I connected with so much in this session. So it's all about feeling the call and feeling your body. But I agree with you. They can only take you so high. And then the rest, like once you get to that point, they're not needed.
And you don't necessarily, for you, it sounds like it was perfect. For some people, they may
It
never.
doesn't resonate. Yeah.
It's just, yeah. I had a friend one time when I first started really deepening my practice when I was about like 19, and I grew up in the 70s, and the psychedelics are huge then. And I remember asking the friend that introduced me to John Roger, and I said, do you do LSD or mushrooms or anything like that? And she just looked at me like, why would I do that? I see all that stuff without it.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, yeah, that's what I want. Yeah, I get
Yeah,
that.
that's what I want too. For
There you go.
sure.
There you
For
go.
sure. So it was a good vehicle, but it dropped me off.
Yeah,
And
good
here
for
I
you.
am.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah,
when you meditate, do you ever get an abundance of energy? And if so, what practices do you use to ground yourself down?
right. I do get a lot of energy, and I love it. I really love it. I didn't always.
Is it
When I
ever too
first,
much though?
um, no, energy's not too much, but there's something called spiritual indigestion.
Okay.
Okay, so spiritual indigestion means like you've been so much in the spiritual worlds that are so not this world that it does get to be too much. It gets to be too much. It's like, oh, I got to come back to the world. And so then how do you ground yourself? There, take your shoes off and walk in the sand, in the
Mhm.
grass, in the dirt. Um, Eat. And sometimes you got, for the vegetarians out there, sometimes, at least for me, I just have to eat some meat. And
Yeah,
I
I read that
like
with the
that.
Kundalini.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't like that really, but um,
Sometimes it's necessary.
sometimes it's necessary. I heard this, I don't do this, but I heard this from a great spiritual teacher once who was telling me that in India, a lot of the gurus will hand out candy to their students, because that can be grounding. The sugar can kind of bring you back into your body. There's a sound that will bring you right back into your body, and you go from low to high and down, and you go and that'll ground you right real quick.
Oh, really?
Mhm, mhm.
Because I actually went into spiritual psychosis. I was awake for 11 days straight. So, like, I had this word that came into my head, apathy, and I looked it up. It's like, oh, it's like the student isn't following the teachings of the teacher. And I was like, okay, well, I'm going to sit here. I turned the TV off. I'm like, I'm going to sit here and meditate until something happens. I was awake for 11 days, 11 days straight. And then I ended up in the hospital because of this. So since then, like I wake up at night sometimes and like my energy is like out here. But now I'm able to be calm with it. But sometimes like it turns into like a little bit of anxiety or like restless syndrome, like restless leg syndrome. So that's why I'm asking on the best like practices for grounding, because I've tried a bunch and sometimes it doesn't work. But I got eat a little bit ago. I saw a license plate that said eat. And I was like, and it just resonated with me. I was like, okay.
Yes, eating will help ground you. So you need some tools.
Yeah.
So you're obviously really sensitive and really attuned, and got way out there in spirit. I was
Yeah, like way out there, like full on voices, beings, like I can see my angel guides. And I came back into the bedroom after eating or whatever, and it was different angel guides, and then they started speaking English. I'm like, oh well, I thought that going into psychosis was just spiritual development. And I was like, okay, now I have friends around.
well, I don't know that I would, the medical, I'm not a medical person, so
Me neither, but that's what they
let
called
me
it.
just, yeah, I wouldn't call it that. not, I would call it a great blessing. Then you got really ungrounded.
Yes.
That's so for you and for those listening that can go into those spiritual realms and see, feel, and hear. You need some real good techniques for yourself to ground yourself. That's why you're asking.
Yes.
So eating, sleeping too, walking in the ground, in the earth, something cold might bring you back into your body, or warm. And then here's where you can be the spiritual scientist and just practice those things. You can also just tell yourself, look, we've gone far enough right now, back in the body. You did that before.
Mm-hmm.
So if you went into a spiritual experience that was so profound, no wonder when you just did this also left your body, you'd go back into the body. No wonder. Right?
Yeah.
You don't want to get so out there and you end up in the hospital again. You don't need that.
Yeah.
But I don't think you do. I mean, there are beings out there and you hear them. You can hear them, see them. People can. And that's not psychosis. Now, doctors might think that's psychosis because they don't know. Do they have a meditation practice? If you were in India, they'd make you a holy man and bring you.
All right, I'm buying a flight to India.
No, but seriously.
Yeah.
You're not the first person who's told me this. And my teacher, John Roger, he talks about working in a mental institution, a mental health institution, and how many spiritually awake people there were in there.
Yeah.
They just couldn't live in this world. So they got labeled.
Mm-hmm.
But they were awake. They were completely awake, but they just didn't ground themselves out in the world. But yet in India, people would bring them food and they would be honored as a holy person.
And they would ask them questions too, because you're so attuned at that point. Like you just know things.
Yes, you do. That's right. So, okay, we want the balance of it.
Yes.
Because we're living in Canada or America or some Western country listening to this now, and we don't live in a cave. And we don't live in India where people are going to feed us because we can't figure out how to feed ourselves because we're so out there in the soul realm. So we learn to live spirituality in everyday life.
Yeah.
That's the calling for us in our age and in the Western world.
And how to share this knowledge, right?
If we're asked, it's not something to go around and preach about.
No, not preaching. There's a difference between teaching and preaching.
And not even teaching. You know, I'm not sharing your experience.
Yeah.
If somebody asks you,
yeah,
we're only really invited when we're asked. Other than that, no.
Yeah.
There's a lot of, I have a friend that's a Rinpoche from Tibet, and he told me once there's a lot of Buddhas in the world. They could be your garbage collector. They could be your I don't know, your grocery store clerk. There are a lot of Buddhas in the world, meaning enlightened beings.
Yeah.
And it's just their presence that anchors beauty and loving and upliftment on this planet. That's enough. It's good enough.
I gotcha. Okay. You actually mentioned disease earlier, and I just wanted to applaud you on releasing cancer. And I want to know, how did meditation support your success in that release? And do you have any advice for others who are out there experiencing dis-ease?
So when you start to travel in your soul, communicate with your soul, develop a relationship with your soul, that higher part of you, that your true self, again, here we go with semantics, whatever name you want to call it.
Yeah.
That part of every single person is perfect. It's a divine spark that was the original creation of your individuality. And it's perfect, and it lives in the spiritual realms in perfection. So when you bring that into your body or into the places where there is dis-ease, the dis-ease cannot remain in the presence of perfection.
Mm.
Can't remain.
So it's really creating that relationship with your source energy.
First step.
Mm-hmm.
And even if you haven't deepened and developed your relationship with it, you can still invite it in. You can invite it into that place. So I did have cancer. I had it. It came back, like I had it 2 or 3 times anyway. And I had a tumor that crushed what's called the ureter. The ureter is like a tube basically that goes from your kidney, goes down into the bladder, and that's your liquid goes out that way.
Mm-hmm.
And the tumor crushed it. So for a while I had plastic in my kidney and a bag called a nephrostomy bag because the liquid didn't drain out, right? And you can't have that. You get really sick. You have to release those toxins. So it had to release in a bag. And they told me, well, you'll never get over this. It's impossible. The tumor crushed it. The tumor was gone. I'd gotten rid of that, but with radiation. But you're going to, and the bag has to be surgically replaced every 3 months. But you can live with this. They gave me the lecture. You can live with this. And I was like, I'm not having that.
I love your attitude. For sure.
No, I'm not. I want to go swimming. I like to swim.
Yeah.
I had to go to a nurse every 2 to 3 days to have a dressing because I had an open wound.
Yeah.
In my back. And I was just like, I'm not having this. So every day, every night, I did it at night, I would call my soul into this ureter. And I would visualize and open up and invite and everything I knew how to do to have the perfection of the soul in that part of my body.
Mm-hmm.
And one day, it was the 33rd day. I remember it so well.
33.
Yep, 33. It was the 33rd
master
night.
number. It's a master number.
That's right. It is a master number. I never thought of that. You're right. I forgot about that. And it was no big fireworks, no big thing, but I just went, oh, that's healed. That's healed.
Mm-hmm.
So I called the urologist at 8 a.m, and the doctor answered. I mean, that never happens. I don't know about Canada.
No. We'll get back to you in 2 weeks.
Right. Right. And you won't even hear from the doctor. It'll be a nurse, it'll be an assistant. But he picked up the phone. And actually, at that point, I had tried, instead of a nephrostomy bag, I tried a stint.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was even worse than the nephrostomy bag. It was so painful, I could hardly walk. So I called him and I said, this is healed. I want you to take out the stent. And he said, no, I can't do that. You'll lose your kidney, and you can't, with a former cancer patient can't lose their kidney. You can't. That's not going to be for you. And I said, well, okay, I'll do a deal with you. Let's negotiate here. You take out the stent. I said, how will you know if the kidney is still okay? He goes, in a week, we can see if it's swollen up again and can't drain. I said, okay, you take that stent out. I'll come back in the week. You do the ultrasound. We'll see. And if I have hydronephrosis again, I'll have you put the nephrostomy bag back in. So he said, okay, I'll do that deal. I went in the next day, got rid of the stent, which was horrible, and it was so painful. I threw up. Blah. And then I went back a week later, and he did an ultrasound. He's like, and he comes in and he goes, well, I'm totally surprised, I have to tell you, but your kidney is fine.
Mm-hmm. So do you think it's partly a belief system that keeps that going?
No, not the level of belief.
No,
that was healed.
Yeah. Because I'm a type 1 diabetic.
Okay.
And in my last ayahuasca session, there was a channel actually that came through, and it said that you will not be diabetic. So I'm waiting for that. That was a couple of years ago. So I'm waiting for that time to happen.
Maybe
So
you needed to hear this and try this technique. And if
yes,
anything else, you'll have a deepened relationship with the perfection of yourself, with your soul.
and that's amazing. And the fact that the number 33 was referenced as well, I've been seeing that everywhere lately.
Oh, I love that. I love
Yeah.
that when you see that. I see 11s everywhere.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I love the signs and synchronicities.
Yeah.
Actually,
now,
I have a
want to say one thing.
yeah.
For folks, don't forget we do have karma. So we do have karma. So if you try this healing technique and you go, oh, it just didn't work, it just didn't work, it just didn't work, then that this technique will work unless your karma is that there's something for you to learn from that dis-ease.
Yeah, because they're teachers.
Absolutely. They're teachers. That's right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So in that channel, it was referred to as a teacher, like somebody else channeled it. And I was like, that's an interesting way to put it. I never looked at it like that before.
It's always a teacher. Everything.
It is a teacher. Yes.
And you know, and it's not just one lesson. It could be a lesson every single day. So when I had cancer, and this is why I healed from it, and I had advanced metastatic cancer. I mean, it was everywhere. And I just asked every day, what am I meant to learn? What am I meant to learn? What am I meant to learn? What am I meant to learn?
Mm-hmm.
That's what healed it.
Yeah. Okay, that's awesome to add to the process. Because for me, I believe that it's like which foods align with my body and becoming in alignment with the foods that are in alignment with my body in order for it to work at its highest potential.
Nice. It's beautiful.
Yeah. So if I'm eating stuff that's making it go all over the place, then I'm all over the place, and then I can't fine tune myself, I think.
I think that's very wise.
So that's kind of what I'm getting from it. So how do you connect with your spiritual source? Like, do you receive signs, synchronicities, hear voices, visions? Is it intuition? And what does your inner guidance system look and sound like?
There's a big question.
Yeah.
I love that question. So I go inward and I do soul transcendent meditation with the intention of connecting, of oneness with my source. And then I do a mantra meditation. I use the word Hu, Hu. That's a Sufi word, or it's Aramaic Christianity. Allah Hu is God in Arabic, but also in Aramaic, old ancient language of Jesus's language. Allah Hu, and just the Hu sound, the creation sound, and then I chant that tone, and then I shut up and listen.
So do you ever have, like, for me, I have like voices in my head sometimes, and like that came in that psychosis area, and I heard that there's like a series of like 22 different voices playing 22 different characters in your head. That was somebody that said that. I'm not saying I buy into that, but sometimes they don't stop, and sometimes what happens is actually I have one that will just repeat my thoughts. So I think that's almost sort of saying like, stop thinking.
Well, I would ask, okay, I do something I call it the campfire. And what that is I pull apart different parts of my consciousness. So the child within, the emotional body, the mental body, the wisdom of the physical body, the part of me that at all different ages, okay, the wise part of me, the part that is like the part of my consciousness for career and all of that, and every part of this part of my consciousness has a voice.
Okay.
So the way I master the psychic material worlds, or work to master myself, in this world through all the levels of consciousness is I go inside and I ask these parts of consciousness to come forward and speak to me. That way, they're not just intruding on me here and there, willy-nilly, when I don't want to hear them.
Yeah, one at a time, please.
Yes, exactly. Exactly, one at a time, please.
Yeah.
And when I call on them, I'm the master of this being.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the master. They are not the master. They are parts of the whole. But I'm the conscious self, the master of the whole. But I give them time and space because they have needs. Parts of our consciousness have needs that need to be met. So go into the campfire. I see all these parts of my consciousness. I ask them to come forward, and my highest self, my master self, my creative self, my wise self, my inner guide from the master,
Mm-hmm.
eyes from the source, all of those parts, along with all the the consciousness parts in my psyche in the physical world. And then I just go in there and I go in my mind's eye. I create a sanctuary. Mine looks like a forest with a beautiful campfire.
That's a beautiful picture.
Thank you.
To sit there. Yeah. I'm going to use that.
Use it. Everybody use it. And then but other people might like a beach. You might like a beautiful penthouse. You might like the top of a mountain.
I'm just talking about the idea.
Yes.
Yes.
Wherever your inner sanctuary is the most beautiful place for you. And then the fire illuminates them so I can see all their faces. And then I just say, who needs to speak to me? One at a time.
Mm-hmm.
And then I shut up and listen. And then I just listen to them. What do you need? So part of me lately, it was more the child within and then I asked the child within, what age are you? And it was about 12. And it's like, okay, you're talking. What is it that you need? I need more fun. You're just working all the time. Stop it. I need more fun. I'm like, oh, okay. What kind of fun? What would be fun for you? And this part, it surprised me, but it said, I want to go to the gym.
Nice.
I want to go to the gym. I like the gym. There's a swimming pool there and there's a hot tub and I like working out at the gym. Quit working out at home. We want to go to the gym. So, it talks like a child because it is a child. So I let it have its voice, even if it's a silly voice, that's okay. And then I go, how many days a week? No, just once, just on Saturday. The rest of the time we can work out at home. Okay. That surprised me too. So you never know what it's going to say, but you have to honor what it says. And then the key is you have to take action. If you agree with an inner part of you, if you make that agreement, then you have to follow through, because if you don't, you won't trust yourself. You'll lose that inner trust.
So that's my next question is, how have you built up trust with your guidance system over the years? And do you have any suggestions for the audience? But you already just explained it.
You just have to follow through on your agreements. Just like you have to do with your friends. Like if I have a friend, which I've had a friend, that we would always, let's go out to dinner. Let's grab a bite to dinner. And then they would cancel at the last minute. Well, after 3 times doing that, I don't invite them to dinner anymore.
No.
I'm trying, they're going to break the agreement. They're going to break it, once or twice. Okay. But 3 or 4 times, we're not going to dinner anymore. I'm done. So same thing with the inner part. If that child within says, I want to go to the gym on Saturdays, just for 2 hours is all I need, and I don't do it, that part of me is going to just either start talking to me when I don't want to hear it, acting out and behaving badly to get my attention, or it's going to go away and I'm not going to be in my wholeness anymore.
Yeah, see, I lost some trust with myself through that psychosis, or quote unquote psychosis period. I had probably like 4 or 5 voices in each side of my head, all saying different things at the same time, and it like I went a little loopy,
Well, of
and
course you would.
then so like trying to find that trust within self again. I'm building it again lately. Like lately, things have just been popping up. Like I was like, okay, like I'm gonna manifest a purple flower. Let's say there's no, like it's fall, winter time. I would walk down the street the other day. There's a purple flower sitting there on the ground. And I was like,
Really? Wow.
yes. All right. Okay. So like we're starting to build some more trust and starting to, you know, take those baby steps. But I think for me, it's just like about like listening to the first voice and not second guessing.
There you go. Absolutely. And then make sure that you listen and ask for the part of you that is your soul, your true self, whatever your higher self, whatever name you call it. Make sure you get its wisdom, because that's the master overseer, right? That's the one that's in tune with the source. That's the one that that there's so much love there for you, for everybody in that master inner soul that we have, that we give that voice. And it's often so quiet. You know, it doesn't intrude. It's so quiet. And so
I know sometimes the other ones are like talking too loud. I can't hear that one.
that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. So it's like gotta take your seat.
Yeah. Well, take your seat. Let's give the soul its turn. But those voices will quiet down when they get what they need. You know, they're yelling at you or acting out or being really loud because they're not getting what they need. That's why they're doing that. 100%.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you for that. That was a really good lesson. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Is there a specific time in your life that you would deem your biggest teacher? And at what point did you recognize that this event happened for you rather than to you?
Well, every event happens for us.
Yeah. But like, was there a time where you didn't have that belief?
I didn't have that recognition.
Or that recognition, yeah.
I don't play a lot in beliefs because
I'm sorry,
no, that's okay. It's semantics.
Yeah.
I just want to change the nuance there. I do have limiting beliefs, you know, that I try to notice and clear up. So I kind of look at my limiting beliefs regularly. And clear them up and clear them off and replace them with more of a reality, put it that way. But I lost track of your question.
Was there any specific time in life that you would deem your biggest teacher?
Right now. I know that's not the answer you're looking for.
No, I'm looking for any answer that is true to you.
Right now is my biggest teacher. Like right now in this moment. That's all we've got is right now.
That's amazing.
Now. And that if I expand my awareness to go, what am I learning right in this moment? That's my teacher right now. And then being willing in alignment to learning from it. So I'm learning a ton from you. I'm learning a ton from you.
I'm learning a ton from you too. So it's reciprocity right here.
Yeah. Yes.
It is amazing.
And you're a reflection.
Yeah.
You know, you're a reflection of, you know, the innocence that you have, the willingness, the enthusiasm, the excitement over this journey, and the abilities that you have, the abilities to see into the soul realms and the spiritual realms, and the curiosity you have. It's a reflection.
Yeah. I've never, like, with my music stuff, with any stuff that I've like set up, I've never read manuals, but this time I'm asking for a manual.
My teacher, John Roger, used to say, you know, we're not born with an instruction manual.
No. It kind of just it's like given to you and it's like, okay, like figure it out now. But like, if you pay attention to the small, like, and you're aware of the small little synchronicities or the repeating thoughts or the words that just pop out and stick out to you, then you can actually find like a bit of a map.
Absolutely. You can find a map and you can find methods and what their benefits are. And you can watch them change, because one benefit one year, one method one year might not work the next year. And so you change all and course correct and fill it out. And I just noticed I have my spiritual practices, and you did some of them this morning. And I have others. And then I've never painted before, never been a painter, but I went with a girlfriend to a painting class, abstract
Yeah.
painting. Well, I'm never going to be a painter. I mean, I was not very good, but what was incredible was the creativity.
Mm-hmm.
Being in the presence of creativity in this 2-hour class. And I went, this is a new spiritual practice for me, because I was completely present. The thoughts that typically run around in my mind were completely silent. I was in this beautiful state of expansion. And I went, ooh, new spiritual practice, creativity.
Yeah. I mean, music is great for that too. I mean, like, you experience channeling in music, and or if you play a little bit, sometimes your fingers just move, and it's a wonderful practice.
There you are.
Yeah, and then I just seen something not too long ago about shamanic painting. There was a course on shamanic painting, and I was laughing. I kind of made me smile, and I was like, I wonder what that's about. But now you bring it up, so maybe it's a sign for me to go ahead and do it.
I know. I love that. When I hear something a couple times, or it really rings something inside of me, go ahead and do it. See what's there for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we know that you've wrapped up and are now promoting the Soul and Spirit Daily Spiritual Practice Program, which we're all excited to experience. Is there anything up next for you, or are you planning on taking a well-deserved break?
I'm not done with the program. I recorded 143 recordings, but they're short. You can do the 5 spiritual practices in 5 to 7 minutes. I wanted to make them short.
Yeah.
And so I have more days to record, and that's very creative. And then I recorded 6 sacred chants for the Soul and Spirit Daily Spiritual Practice Program. And I want to record 6 more and then use that as a new album of sacred ancient chants.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to hear one chant today.
Yeah.
Do you remember which one it was?
I don't. I put it on first thing in the morning. I'm like, I'm gonna do this in the morning. I seen that there was only, like, on the link that I opened up, there was only 31 practices. You said you have 100 and something?
31 days.
Or 31 days.
Yeah. And out of that, there's 5 per day. So it's about 150. Well, it's less because the chants repeat themselves. And then I just haven't done month 2, month 3, month 4 for a year, but I'll have a year. So for those people that like the idea of being delivered 5 spiritual practices a day that you just tune into and listen to, there will be a year. There'll be 365 days of them.
Amazing. And I think it's great that they're nice and short. But because I've done 30-minute ones, I've done 5-minute ones, 10-minute ones. This morning, I was like, I'm going to listen to this. I listened to it, and then I just went into like a meditation. I didn't really pay too much attention. It was just the carrier for me into the rest of my meditation there that just kind of happened. And then I woke up. I was like, okay, I got to get ready.
That's exactly. Thank you. That's exactly why and how I designed those, so that they would just be a springboard for it, for wherever you go in the inner worlds.
Yeah.
Exactly what I designed them for. Exactly. So
well, your intention was delivered.
Yay! Yay! Will you write me a testimonial for that? I can.
Sure.
That'd be great. Yeah, because you don't have to listen to every word of anything. It's just the springboard, the carrier wave, just like you said, and then let spirit take you to the rest of it. So if meditation, I created 5: an invocation, a teaching from one of the great spiritual masters throughout history, an affirmation to start to master your mind and emotions, a guided meditation with stillness in it, and a chant. So because meditation doesn't work for everybody, and don't work for everybody, and an invocation doesn't work. So whatever is there, it's a feast for you. Whatever takes the person to the next, to the inner travel.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I designed it.
What else is really cool about that idea is you delivered little pieces of each one, so it's not a whole segment on just one, so you actually get a taste of each little one, and you can resonate with the ones that you resonate the most, and you might find you resonate with all of them.
Exactly.
Because they're in such small doses.
And you can always go back to, if there's one that really touches your heart, you can go back and listen to that over and over again. You can put it on a loop and listen to it, particularly a chant. They're yours. They're yours. You can download them. You can have them and use them any way you want.
Nice. One more question before we start to wrap this up. Have you traveled a lot in your life, and where have you traveled to?
I have. I've been.
I can tell.
You can? How do you tell that?
I can just tell, because just the way that you speak and about the different cultures that you speak about. Like, I can tell that you've done some traveling.
Well, just only about 21 countries so far.
Oh, that's it.
That's it. I have a few more that I can't wait to go visit. But
nice.
Yeah, and because I'm so interested and connected and wanting to deepen my experience with spirit and awakening, I always try to find those really sacred places wherever I go and learn from them and learn from the everyday ordinary people in those places. Yeah. So the last place I went to was Bulgaria, and that was an incredible trip where I got COVID. And then because I got COVID, I was on a tour with a bunch of friends, but I couldn't go on the tour, right? Because I had COVID. And so a lady I never knew took me in. And then for 8 days, she took me all over Bulgaria, and I got to see the real Bulgaria. So gypsy villages, and it was pretty amazing.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So Nick, thank you so much for having me. We got into some really amazing things, and I just loved listening to your story and your inner experiences and where they've taken you, and your great thirst for more experiences and to travel the high country. So yes. I bless you on your way to the highest country, the highest realms out there, and to all your viewers, just blessings on your way, everybody.
Thank you very much. And I might see you in those higher realms. And thank you so much for sharing your authenticity and everything that you shared about. It was extremely interesting. I learned a lot. And I just wanted to thank you once again for being on the podcast and for your contributions to the collective audience. And we wish you all the best that life has to offer. Thank you so much.